Hello everyone, what's up? It's me again, Youngmaster3, and it's finally time for yet another update video. I'm not really sure how long this particular update video is going to be because I know the previous one was really long, so I think this is probably going to be shorter because I was thinking of making an update video today or maybe like any day, like maybe next week, because I'm still waiting for a few films to arrive. But I figured, well, I might as well make this video before. I mean, otherwise that video would be really long as well. So that's the reason why. So, but anyway, let's begin with the update video. I only have one VHS tape this time around. And like usual, I'm gonna start with like the non-horror titles and then continue with the horror titles for the DVDs and then go to the Blu-rays, which are also probably going to be like in a mixed order. So yeah, keep that in mind. So the first one, like I said before, is the VHS tape that I picked up, and it's the film Rescue Me with Michael Dudikoff, Stephen Dorff, Amy Dolenz, and Peter DeLuise. I didn't really remember his character in this one, to be honest, but pretty fun. I mean, it's not like a body cop type of film, but it has that type of feel to it, if you get what I mean, because I mean they're not cops, but it has that type of chemistry to it. So I mean, I think this is a really underrated film in general, and I'm not really sure why this has yet to get a DVD or Blu-ray release. I think that's really a shame because it's a pretty fun little film in general. So yeah, Rescue Me. Then we have some box sets. The first one, let's see, I'm just gonna move this away right over here. So the first box set is Twin Peaks, the first season. Actually never seen Twin Peaks, believe it or not. So, and then we have Twin Peaks, the second season, part 1 of 2. And then obviously because of that, the Twin Peaks, the second season, part 2 of 2. So there you go. I don't think the movie itself, I think they made a movie out of this which was called Fire Walk With Me or something, which was not included in these box sets, unfortunately, so I need to look for that as well. Now this one I've had in the collection for quite some time now, but for some reason I always tend to forget about it. Maybe it's just because it just feels like it weighs a ton of bricks, because I mean this is just a massive box set. But Miami Vice collection, the Definite collection, the complete series on 32 discs. I mean, this doesn't look too bad, you know, when you just look at this. But believe me, this is really heavy. So when I was going to get this in the mail, I was like, "What is this?" And it turned out it was this particular box set, and I got it for a really good price as well. But I mean, that's probably the reason why I'm not showed you this in the update yet, because it's just so damn heavy. So yeah. So let's see here, right here. So then we continue with the next stack, and there's a few like Disney productions in this. Not newer Disney, it's older Disney. I mean, yeah, calm down. So the first one is, I mean, I think this is like some sort of like compilation type not video, compilation of like different episodes and whatever. So we have Kim Possible, the what's this called? The Secret Files, I believe. And then it's Kim Possible at Stitch in Time. And then we have Kim Possible Monkey Business. And then the last Kim Possible related thing is Kim Possible So the Drama, which I think was supposed to be like the ending to the series or whatever. Because it really feels like it's the ending of the whole series when you watch this film, because this is like a made-for-TV film that was like supposed to be like the ending to the TV series. And for some reason, I think it was like the fans really liked the show so much, so they demanded yet another season, and then they just made another one. So, but I remember liking this series back in the day. So I mean, it's not the full series or anything like that, but it's fun to have a few episodes at least. So then we have a film called let's see here, Tunnel, with Daniel Baldwin, who I believe is also the director of this. So it might be one of those funny vanity project type of films. So yeah. Then we have this one. I'm not really sure if I already showed you this one, but it's another film. For some reason, it seems like James Coburn turns up in every single update video I have. But yeah, James Coburn in the film called Waterhole 3. Some sort of Western comedy. So yeah. He looks really glad there on the front cover as well. Like he's probably won tons and tons of money. Then we have a film which is kind of a blind buy. This was released in the early 2000s, and it's a thriller called Black Point. I believe this might be a Canadian production, but I mean, don't quote me on that. Then we have a film with Peter Fonda, and I believe this was, yeah, it's directed by Roger Corman, and it was written by Jack Nicholson, so that's quite interesting. This also has Bruce Dern and Dennis Hopper in it, so yeah, and the film is The Trip. Right there. Looks like some weird hippie stuff, if you ask me, so yeah. Then we continue with the next stack, and the first one in this stack is the film called Gun Crazy with Drew Barrymore and James LeGros. LeGros, I'm not really sure how you pronounce his name, but I believe this might be a remake of an older film which was made like in the 30s or 40s, which I did recently pick up on Blu-ray. So just based on the title and everything, and I've read a little bit about it, and it seems like it's very similar to that. So yeah. Then we have an old Studio series, which seems to be pretty difficult to come across from time to time, but yeah, finally found this one, and it's directed by Peter Yates, I believe. That it really rings a bell, that particular name, but I don't really remember any specific film he made. But and it's the film called Breaking Away, like a late 70s sort of like coming of age type of film, I believe, like a drama comedy, and I think it looks pretty interesting. So yeah. Then we have a film with Brad Pitt and Craig Sheffer in it. I believe this one also has Tom Skerritt in it, and the film is directed by Robert Redford, and the film is called A River Runs Through It. Right there. So pretty young Brad Pitt as well. I believe this was made in the early 90s, so yeah. Then we have this one, which I have... Oh, never mind. This is actually like stated here on the back, but because this is like a German release, but it's a film by Sergio Santiago, and you probably know it's going to be some schlocky Filipino action film, and it's the film called The Expendables. Not to be confused with The Expendables with Stallone, just going to say that, but really looking forward to see this one. I mean, Sergio Santiago's films, they're usually pretty fun. I mean, they're not like amazing or anything like that, but usually there's some really funny and entertaining action sequences in that, and usually it takes place out in jungle areas, and I have a soft spot for some of those films, so yeah, The Expendables. Then we have a couple of Western films here. The first one is a film called Alvarez Kelly with William Holden and Richard Widmark. I think this has something to do with the Civil War. Can be totally wrong. Well, no loyalties to either North or South. Yeah, so it's probably like the Civil War in the America. So, but yeah, Alvarez Kelly. Then we have the next Western film, and that's the film with Kirk Douglas called The Big Trees. And apparently this was really shocking to me because it says here on the back, let's see here, the legendary film actor Kirk Douglas delivers one of his most powerful screen portrayals in the blockbuster movie The Big Trees, a 1952 remake of the earlier silver screen classic Valley of the Giants. I had no idea this was a remake. So I mean, heck, even in the 50s they made remakes. So that's interesting. So yeah, The Big Trees. Then we have an older Western film from the 40s called, what is this called? Along Came Jones with Gary Cooper. So yeah. Then we have a film called, let's see what this is called in English, Miles from Home with what's his name? Richard Gere. Yeah, John Malkovich as well. Late 80s, like crime action type film, I believe. So yeah, almost anything 80s, I just pick it up immediately. So yeah. Then we have a film with that actor, and it's also directed by him, surprisingly. And this is the film called On Deadly Ground, with Steven Seagal. Who I always thought his name was Steven Cigar when I was younger. So yeah, but anyway. Then we have a film from the 60s called The Miracle Worker. Read up about the storyline to this, and it sounds quite fascinating. Apparently this is also based on true events, and yeah, that really caught my attention right away, because sometimes when there are films that are like based on true events, they tend to be really good, especially like the drama films. So yeah, The Miracle Worker. Then we have a film with Robin Williams called Patch Adams, and yet another one which apparently was based on true events. And I got this for dirt cheap. I mean, this is also like brand new and sealed. I got it for like $1 or something. I'm not really sure how much that is like in pounds, or like if you live in the UK or whatever, like euros. But But yeah, I mean, I've heard some good things about this one, so yeah, decided to pick it up. My god, now an entire stack just fell down. You see that? Oh yeah, of course you couldn't see that, but you could probably hear it. I should have prepared this in another way. Oh. Excuse me for that. Might as well just put them on the ground instead. So the next one is another like crime film, I believe, from this is from the late 50s actually, called The Trap. Right there. So yeah. Then we have a film called American Me. Right there, so yeah. So yeah, let's continue with the next stack. The first one in this one is the film called Barbarella, which I have seen before. This is with Jane Fonda. Remember it being very strange and very weird for like a sci-fi film, but I mean, at least it was fascinating enough for me to actually pick it up, because I watched this with a friend back in and that sounds weird when I say back in the day, but a couple of years ago, and remember both of us were like, what is going on? But yeah, it's a fascinating film in general, so yeah. Then we have a film with what's his name? Is it? Yeah, I was completely blacked out now because for some weird reason. But Richard Pryor, of course, and it's the film called Car Wash. It's the film called Car Wash. And then we have this film. I believe this is sort of like a rare film to come across, and it's the film called Club Paradise from the 80s, and this is one of the earlier roles of Robin Williams, and I do believe this is probably one of the older films with him that I've seen. I think the one that came out a little bit earlier was that film when he played like a Russian in New York. I don't remember what that film was called, but you probably know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Club Paradise. So let's see here. Then we have the film with I think this was the only Hong Kong production film that Brandon Lee appeared in, but it's the film called Legacy of Rage, which I think I might have had in some like box set or something like that before, but yeah, I've never seen the film myself yet, so but I mean, it's such a shame that he died so early. Yeah, well, I already know about that. Then let's see here, the next wait a minute, oh never mind, might as well put these two together because both of them are like Japanese films. First up we have the film called Tokyo Tribe, which was directed by Sion Sono. I've grown to appreciate his films even more now. One thing that really scared me away though with this one is that apparently this is filled with like hip hop and rap music, which I just can't stand. But I mean, the storyline sounds quite interesting in general, like a sort of like a weird Yakuza type film. So yeah, Tokyo Tribe. Then we have another Japanese film called Like Someone in Love, like a drama film. Heard some good things about this one, so yeah, decided to pick it up. So yeah. So let's see here. I think we might as well take these three at the same time because all three of these are sci-fi films. First up, we have the film called Total Reality. Yeah, some like late 90s sci-fi film. Some of those can be really fun from time to time. So yeah. Here, then we have a film called Escape Velocity. I'm gonna be honest, and I got tricked into this because I mean, look at that cover art. I just couldn't pass on that. So yeah, you should never do that, but you always end up in that trap. Then we have a sci-fi film, another one from the late 90s with Mark Hamill called Laserhawk, and I really like this cover art as well. Once again, so yeah. So let's see here. Then we have a film called Bob Roberts, which was directed by Tim Robbins, and I think he's the main character, like main star in it as well. So could be interesting, some sort of like comedy film. So yeah. Then we have a film with Robert De Niro and Robert Duvall called True Confessions, and I believe this is supposed to take place in the 50s or something, right? Maybe 40s. Yeah, 40s. So yeah. Let's see here. We have a few more films right here. Then we have the 80s comedy film called Clue. I think Tim Curry's in this one as well. Yeah, Tim Curry, yeah. And Christopher Lloyd as well. That's quite interesting. So, yeah. Clue. Let's see here. Then we have a prison film with Robert Redford. I'm not sure was he also the director of this. No, it's not. It's directed by him, but it's the film called the Brubaker. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it. I did watch this and I didn't care too much for it. The reason why is because I thought this was going to be a really amazing type of like prison film, sort of like the same type of film as Midnight Run, I believe it's called. Midnight. You know what film I'm referring to, but I thought it was going to be something like that. But the problem with this one is that Robert Redford plays this character, and at the beginning you kind of assume that he's like one of these prisoners, but it turns out he's actually the warden of this prison, and he's just acting as one of the prisoners. And at that point, it kind of fell flat for me, in my personal opinion. But yeah, it's still an okay film, but I expected more from that. Then we have a film called Silent Fall. I do believe this was the very first film which Liv Tyler appeared in, so that's also pretty interesting. This one has also Richard Dreyfuss, John Lithgow, and Linda Hamilton in it, so yeah, pretty interesting cast right there. Let's see, I might as well take all these three at the same time. Now this one, I had no idea this was released like in Sweden at all. I thought this was like one of those films that I had to like try to find like the Region 1 DVD or whatever. But so I was really surprised when I saw this for sale, and I thought for myself, I need to get a hold of that. And it's the film called Skin Deep, which looks like some sort of really stupid but somewhat still hilarious 80s comedy film. And this is with the John Ritter, great actor John Ritter, who sadly passed away in, was it like 2003 or 4 or something? That was just really tragic. But anyway, Skin Deep looks pretty darn fun. Then we have a film called The Cowboy Way with Woody Harrelson and Kiefer Sutherland. Apparently, it says it's like I think somewhere it said it was more like a Western film, but come on, they have like cowboy hats on. That doesn't make it into a Western film. But back on this DVD, it actually says action comedy, so that makes more sense to me, so yeah. So let's see here. Then we have a double pack. The first one being Valley of the Dolls and Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. Not really sure how these are connected, if they are actually like part of the same like storyline or whatever, or if it's just like a standalone thing. One thing that really surprised me about this one though is that the story in the second one, or like in the Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, was written by Russ Meyer, who is probably most famous for like making these like weird, smutty, like sleazy films from the 60s and 70s. But it was also written, or like the story was also written by Roger Ebert. And that just really threw me off. Like, what is he making something like this? I would have never guessed that. So, but yeah, it seems like very interesting films in general, though. Then the last for this stack is the film called The Black Cat 2, which obviously, yes, is a sequel to the first Black Cat film, which I have in the collection somewhere. But once again, that's really the issue when they're making so many sequels and you don't really know where you put all of your films. And you're like, where did I put the first one? I need to put this beside that one. So, but anyway, The Black Cat 2, not seen the first one yet, but we'll get to that eventually. So, yeah. So I do believe that was all of the non-horror titles. Now we'll continue with the horror titles. And the first one being Alone in the Dark. I can already see people screaming at me, "What? How could you pick that garbage?" This is directed by U-Ball. I've seen it like once or twice, and it's not a good film. But at the same time, I was like, it's a U-Ball film. Might be. Sometimes when I watch some of his films, they're just really fun to look at, just because of how stupid some of them are. So yeah, that's my excuse for that. I have not seen the sequel to that one though, but I've heard that's supposed to be even worse. So yeah. Then we have this one, which I also haven't heard too many good things about. I think I actually might have had this one before. Not really sure why I picked it up in that case, but The Curse of El Sharo, some sort of like demon possession type film from the early 2000s. So yeah. Then we have a few. Let's see here. Might as well take these three at the same time because all three of these are Japanese. Then the first one in this among these three are the film called Kamiki Taxi. And I do believe, I'm not really sure, this might be more of a like crime thriller type thing, but it just kind of ended up in this section of the video. But yeah, I've heard some really good things about this one. The problem with this one though is that, not the problem, but what really scares me away is that it's almost like 3 hours long. And when films are that long, the film has to be really, really good to like really get my attention. So yeah. So let's see here. Then we have the next one, and this one is called The Ravaged House. It actually says right up there. I'm not sure how much of the camera that takes that up, but yeah. I mean, and also that creature there on the front really convinced me as well. So yeah. And then we have the film. I think this is directed by that guy. What's his name? Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who is not related to Akira Kurosawa, but he also made that great film called The Cure, I believe it was called, which was really amazing. And this is his film called Charisma, right there. So yeah, also might be more of a crime thriller type deal, but yeah, whatever. Then let's see here. Let's continue in this stack. First one in this stack is the film called The Believers. This is directed by Daniel Myrick, who was the co-director of the first Blair Witch Project. So, and I've always wanted to see that just because of him being involved. I couldn't find another like release of this one because this is like an old like rental copy that I got, and I just couldn't find the other regular ones. So ended up with this one. So yeah, The Believers. Now we have these two. Actually, might as well put that. Oh, well, never mind. I mean, these two I've seen before. I've heard some terrible things about these ones. I don't really get why they get so much like. I mean, people talk shit about these films all the time, and I don't really understand why. I can't understand the last one, but whatever. But the first one is the film called Return of the Living Dead, Necropolis, which I thought was really fun and really entertaining, and some really funny like blood and gore effects in this one. I don't really know why so many people tend to hate this one. I mean, of course, it's nowhere near as good as the previous three, but it's still good fun, so yeah. So there we have that one. And then we have obviously the next one, which is Return of the Living Dead, Rave to the Grave, which I can totally see why some people don't like this one at all. I mean, this is definitely the weakest one out of all of these films, in my personal opinion, because at least the Necropolis one had some pretty kick-ass type of music to it. This one has rave music, which I'm not really a big fan of either, so that kind of ruins the entire like atmosphere as well. And yeah, the characters are just really lacking in this one as well, in my personal opinion. But it's still fun for what it is. I mean, it's not absolutely terrible, but it's not a very good film either. So, but anyway, Return of the Living Dead, Rave to the Grave. So yeah. Then we have a film called, I mean, this film is called, apparently, this is such a misleading type of cover art as well, because it says the film is called Love Hurts. And if you just look at that front cover, it just looks like some sort of like, really like romantic comedy or like romantic drama film. But if you look at the back, the original title is actually not Love Hurts, it's actually Slave. And it's from 2009, and it's categorized as a thriller horror film according to the back. But if you just look in the front cover, it's like, why they really why do they want to trick people into watching this? They're like, oh, let's watch a romantic comedy or like a romantic drama film. It's gonna be messed up probably. Now let's see here. The next two films are actually films that I picked up at the secondhand store. They were dirt cheap, so that's the reason why I picked them up in the first place. So the first one right there was a film called Dracula. How clever, how original. But anyway, this is like a made-for-TV film from 2006, and yeah, could be good. You never know when it comes to some of these later ones, but yeah, Dracula from 2006, so yeah. And then the other one, which I probably should have thrown in there with the other like Off the Dead films, but ended up in this section of the video anyway, but it's the film Night of the Living Dead Reanimation, which I've heard some really terrible things about. The reason why I picked it up was because, I mean, it was just dirt cheap, and I thought for myself, well, I mean, if it's really bad, I'm not going to feel bad about like paying that little money for it. Apparently this is like a sequel to an older film which was just called Night of the Living Dead 3D, I believe. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that, so might as well need to get that one before watching this one, but this one has Andrew Devov and Jeffrey Combs in it, so that's really also the main reason why I picked it up in the first place, so yeah. Now let's see here. Next couple of films right here. First up is a film called Creep, which should not be confused with The Creep from the early 2000s, which is a really entertaining British horror film about that crazy guy living like in the subterranean tunnels, whatever. That's a really good film. Can really recommend that one. This one I've not seen yet, but I heard some decent things about it. It's supposed to be like a really low budget type of like Blair Witch Project style, like a found footage type style to it, I believe. But one thing that really would have scared me away is when it says from the producer of Paranormal Activity and The Purge. You really put that on the front cover, from the producer of Paranormal Activity, which is like the worst like found footage film like out there. I used to despise those films, but you already know that, so yeah. Then we have a Korean horror film, a South Korean horror film called The Red Shoes, and that front cover looks really messed up. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, this is pretty much like the same cover art on the front cover as well. So yeah. Then we have a film which I didn't even knew had a Swedish release, but apparently it had. I heard some really interesting things about this one, and it's Phil Tippett's film Mad God, which took like so many years to make. This is sort of like a stop. What I've been told is sort of like a stop motion action horror type film in a strange way. But yeah, apparently he worked really long on this project, and I'm really looking forward to see it. So yeah, Mad God. Then we have a film which I was supposed to watch. I was supposed to watch this film last Christmas, because I was looking through like the cinemas and whatever to see what type of films they were showing, and they were like mentioning this one. I'm like, oh, I really want to watch that because it sounds very interesting. But of course, those stupid idiots at the local cinema, they don't decide to show this film. They decide to show you any of those really boring superhero films. But this is the film called There's Something in the Barn, which is supposed to be like some horror film with like killer gnomes or like garden gnomes. Now that was the reason why I wanted to watch this film in the first place. But yeah, I've not heard too many people talk about this one, so I have no idea what to expect really. So yeah, There's Something in the Barn. Let's see here. If I can put... Yeah, here we go. Then we have... You know what? No need for me to show you that because I already showed that before. Now the next one is a sequel to a film which was just really, really bashed. I actually have the first one in the collection. Might rewatch it at some point, but I've actually heard good things about this sequel. Winnie the Pooh 2. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2, maybe. That's the original title. And yeah, the first one is pretty bad. I don't think it was as bad as some people made it out to be, but it was still not a very good film. But yeah, I mean, might give this one a shot. Sometimes you do prefer the sequel over the first one, so yeah. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does. Then we have the, this is like a miniseries, I believe, from the late 2000s, and it's Kindred, The Embraced, some sort of like vampire short like miniseries apparently. So, and yeah, whenever you see like that artisan DVD, try to get those because they are really tricky to come across from time to time. So if you ever find like an artisan release for really like good money or like a good price, go pick it up, because they usually go for really stupid money. So yeah, the Kindred. And before we continue with the Blu-rays, I'm just going to show you this, that I was so glad that I got my hands on this one. I mean, I'm not the hugest fan of this film, but it's a film that I feel like I really need to rewatch to fully appreciate. And I finally found the holy grail in like the DVD like collectors community or whatever, if you can say that. I mean, according to me at least, because this is just a film that has been absolutely impossible to get a hold of for years for a decent price, and I finally got Begotten on DVD. I do believe also, I mean, I actually double checked the disc as well, like everything around this one, and it's actually a legit release, because sometimes you have to be careful with some of those films that goes to for stupid money in general, because I can only assume that there's plenty of really like bad bootlegs floating around out there as well. But this is the official release, which is really cool. This was released in the early 2000s, and then it just got, I mean, it became it got out of print right away, and then it's just been impossible to get a hold of. I mean, I heard some rumors about this, that it was some sort of company that was supposed to put it out on DVD or Blu-ray, and that never happened, and yeah. But I ended up getting this, the original release, and yeah, I'm really glad to have this in the collection, believe it or not, so yeah. So now let's continue with the Blu-rays. These are pretty much like in random order, like not like only like horror films, it's also like other genres and really a mixed bag of like companies as well. But yeah, the first one is Grand Isle with Nicolas Cage. Such a boring cover art, if you ask me. thank God for those like 70s and like 80s cover arts. But I have seen this one before. I thought it was decent. I mean, then again, I know that it was Nicolas Cage film, and I usually pick up anything that Nicolas Cage shows up in general. But I remember this being still decent. So yeah, Grand Isle. I'm not really sure if that's the original title or not, but yeah, hey I ho. Then we have a film called Hey, Stop Stabbing Me. Which I'm not really sure why, because apparently, I mean, I could almost swear that I looked up this film on like IMDb like years ago, and it actually says here on the back that it was made in 2000, the year 2000, and excuse me, and which is really strange is that it says it's sorry. Yeah, I heard that, I mean, this, it says here on the back it's released in 2000, but apparently on IMDb it states that it was released in 2024. So maybe it was just some weird rights issues that it was maybe made in the early 2000s and it wasn't released until recently. But I could have swear I've seen some DVD releases of this floating around from time to time as well. But really, my God, sneezing deluxe right here. Now I just completely lost track just because of that. Damn it. But anyway, hey, stop stabbing me. So yeah, let's see here. Then we have this is actually a film which I have on VHS, but I decided to pick it up on Blu-ray, and I usually want to avoid these releases in general, but I don't think this was ever released like officially on DVD or Blu-ray. So, and it's a film called Spasms by William Freud, and this one has Peter Fonda and Oliver Reed in it. So yeah. I'm just going to assume that that's going to be like a really misleading cover art as well, so yeah. And we have a film, let's see here. Oh my God, I almost dropped an entire stack on the floor. So this one is released by Culture Shock, I believe. And it's a film with Wings Hauser in it. And the movie is called Mind, Body and Soul. And this actually has a pretty cool looking cover right there as well, so yeah. Culture Shock release, Mind, Body and Soul. And then once again, Wings Hauser seems to follow me, because this one also has Wings Hauser in it, and it's the film called Tough Guys Don't Dance. Let's see if it's a similar cover right there. Yeah, it's the same one pretty much. Yeah, so apparently a Canon film. I'm not sure if you know about this. I'm not really sure if this is a big spoiler or anything like that, but apparently this had like a weird ending to it, which is like a meme thing, and it's like that scene when that guy says like, "Oh God, oh man, oh God, oh man," and apparently that actor didn't really like that the director decided to just keep that in the film. But I'm not really sure how much of a spoiler that is, but if you know what I mean, you probably know what type of film this is. So yeah, Tough Guys Don't Dance. Now let's see here. Then we have a film which was released through the AGFA label or whatever. And this is the film called The Black Crystal. Some sort of late 90s, not late 90s, late 80s, early 90s action sci-fi film, I believe. Let's see if this is, yeah, it's a similar cover right there. So, yeah, The Black Crystal. Then we have a film which I have seen before, and this really reminded me of like House on Haunted Hill a little bit. I mean, obviously House on Haunted Hill is much better than this, but I remember this one still being decent. So, and it's the film called The Haunted House of Horror. Damn, too many H's right there. I'm not sure it might be the same. Yeah, it's the same one right there. But yeah, pretty underrated film in general though. Then we have a, I'm not really sure if this is Australian or, New Zealand film. And it's the film called Jack B Nimble. Yeah, I'm not really sure if I pronounced that correct, but yeah. Now let's continue with the next stack. First one in this stack is the horror film called The Immortalizer. Just read about this one, and it kind of sounded a little bit like Reanimator in a way. But yeah, The Immortalizer. Then we have a film from it's another one from the 80s, and it's one of those horror, one of those comedy films which I've never seen before, and it's the film called Hard Bodies. Probably some like goofy, like goofball comedy, so decided to pick it up. Then we have a Giallo film, I believe, called 5 Women for the Killer. there. So, oh, I'm not really sure if I could show you the front cover on that one, but yeah, do with that what you will. Then we have a film with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan in it called Joe Versus the Volcano, which I have never heard about before. And apparently this was made in the late, let's see, I think might be early 90s. So yeah, don't quote me on that, but yeah, looks pretty interesting. So yeah. Then we have a film which I think is supposed to be like a sequel to another film. What is that other film I'm thinking of? Yeah, I don't remember the title right now, to be honest, but this is the film by Umberto Lenzi called Brothers Till We Die. Some like crime film, Italian crime film. I really have a soft spot for some of those. Then we have a film which, I mean, the front cover I've heard is supposed to be pretty misleading, but it's a film called A Boy and His Dog, which apparently, I mean, this looks like some weird, like almost like a comedy film or something, but apparently this is a really sleazy and dramatic film. I mean, I've heard some really strange things about this one, so I have no idea what to expect with that, so yeah. Then the last one for this stack is a film by Ringo Lam. I'm not sure if Ringo Lam is the director, if he's the star in this one. Let's see, we double check on that. No, he's director, yeah. Ringo Lam directed this one. And it's the film called Burning Paradise. Some sort of martial art film from the early 90s, so yeah. Now there's one stack left, and then after that it's just going to be some box sets, so yeah. First one in this stack is yet another Japanese film called Low Life Love. Kind of sounds depressing and sad, but yeah, I'm not really sure. Could be good, so yeah. I usually pick up anything released by Third Window Films. I believe they're like specializing in Japanese films in general, so yeah. Then we have yet another Japanese film, which apparently is like one of those films that just... It's a film that's apparently really like hard to believe, and you have to watch it for yourself to fully like grasp what's going on. But it's a film called Suffering of Ninko. Right there, so yeah. Then we have a film which I have seen before, and apparently this one was... this was directed by Kevin Tenney. But apparently he got like, I mean, I think he was like replacing another director because I believe the original director quit or something. So the film itself is kind of disjointed in a way, but it's still okay for what it was, if I remember correctly. So it's the film called The Cellar. Right there. Always really cool cover art. Then we have a triple pack. Bloodorama Triple Frightmare. Which has, let's see what titles are in here. Help Me, I'm Possessed, Night of the Strangler, which I actually might have before, and then Carnival of Blood. So I've not seen any of these before, but yeah, might be good. So let's see here. Then we have a film called... Wait a minute. Now when I come think of it, I think I have a few other films that I could have showed you. Well, might as well do that in the next something video. But anyway, it's the double feature. Jess Franco, once again, I'm not sure if I can show you that. Two Undercover Angels and Kiss Me Monster. I believe that's the title right there. I'm doing that because I'm not really sure if I can show you all of that, so yeah. Let's see here, then we have a film, like a 50s film, I believe. Is this 50s or 60s? Could be 60s. Yeah, 50s. And this is the film called Kuruku, Beast of the Amazon. Some sort of monster film from the 50s, so yeah. And the last one for this stack is the, I believe this is a shot on video film. And it's the, yeah, it's a shot on video film, obviously, because it's released through the Saturn's Core label. And it's the film called 16 Tongues. Right there. So yeah, that's it for that. Then we have some box sets. Let's see here. Oh my god, almost dropped the entire box right there. We have Gothic Francisco, 4 Italian Tales of Terror. Box set right there. Let's see, the ones included in this one is Lady Morgan's Vengeance, The Blancheville Monster, The Third Eye, and The Witch. Not that witch that probably most people think of, but this is an older film. I'm not really sure if I can show you the films right here. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother with that because I'm probably just gonna drop the entire box in the ground because that's how clumsy I am. let's see here. Then we have the next box set is the Weird Wisconsin, the Bill Rebane collection, which I think is yet another limited edition. And this one has, what does it have? Monster Go-Go, which I have seen before, and that was absolutely atrocious. One of the worst things I've ever seen. Invasion Inner Earth, The Alpha Incident, The Demons of Ludlow, The Game, Twister's Revenge, which I've also seen, and that's a really strange film. And then like a documentary, Who is Bill Rebane? And then I think there's like another booklet as well, which I'm not going to bother to pull out. I think there's probably more people that have covered this box set already, so might as well look at those more qualified videos for that. So yeah, let's see here. And the very last box set for this update video is going to be the Televised Terror Volume 1, which is basically like made for TV horror films from like, I think most of these are from the 70s, but it's the films included in this one is SR. Are You in the House Alone, Calendar Girl Murders, and Child in the Night. And I've not seen any of these before, so yeah. So I mean, some of those like 70s horror, 70s and 80s made for TV horror films, they were really like classy. I think they was like really way better than the later ones that came out like in the 90s and early 2000s. So, but yeah, not seen any of these before, but they look pretty interesting. So yeah. So let's see here. That's the end for this update video. I am sure I probably forgot to show you some films right up there somewhere. I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah, might as well do that for the next update video because I've already been mumbling for almost like 45 minutes now. I am not really sure when the next video is gonna be because I actually am scheduled for surgery next week. I think it's next Thursday, so I'll probably be gone for quite a while after that. I'm not really sure. Might as well make another like horror review video before I get to that scenario at Thursday. Maybe I'm gonna upload anything else until then, but I'm just gonna say that as a heads up because I'm not really sure how long I'll be away, and yeah, it's pretty like, yeah, it's a pretty complicated like seizure type thing in a way. Like, I mean, I don't think it's supposed to be very complicated, but you never know when it comes to surgery in general. So, but anyway, I just wanted to make sure that you know about that. And yeah, if I don't see you until like whatever, I'm gonna say yeah, I'm looking forward to make the next video. I'm not sure, I just completely lost track now, but I'm probably gonna make another horror review before that. So yeah, this is just a weird little like heads up before I say anything else. If you do kind of wonder like where did it go, but anyway, hope you enjoy this particular video and see you next time. Bye bye.